Welcome to Beers with Contractors.
Tradies, another episode with Beers with Contractors. Terry, I missed you, man.
I know. I heard you went solo yesterday, and you were on the struggle bus all the way.
It's weird. I catch myself sitting there going, well, what do you think, Terry? And then there's nobody there. And then, so it was kind of a weird editing mix down.
You just need to start talking to the voices in your head. I guarantee you they're not going to leave you astray.
I tell you, man, it actually did. And if you were listening to last week's episode, you probably heard a few of those like, what the hell am I talking about? But great episode, tons of resources. And actually it's one of those where I think it'll benefit a lot of people. So have we ever talked about one of my favorite musical artists, Terry?
God, I have no idea where you're going with this.
I got a story for you. There's this great guy. He's a producer called Butch Walker out of Atlanta, Georgia. And he has a book called Drinking with Strangers. Okay. It's an awesome book. It's a collection of all of his stories. And the fact is I think Butch Walker and I have followed in the same path here. Because, well, you and I, we get along well. We drink beer. We have fun. We talk about construction, right?
Yep.
The guest today is up there in the upper echelon of good construction-related drinking buddies of mine. However, where this individual differs from some of our other cohorts is, well, not only is he successful in his own construction company, but he's doing other things that are well beyond in an association that I'm a part of. And, you know, when you get around these associations, it's a volunteer workforce, right?
Voluntold, yep.
And voluntold for you and me, but you always get some people in there that are like, they talk a big game, they just don't get a lot of shit done, right? So like this person, I've had a chance to get to know them over the last 3 years, and the evolution that they have done for not only the construction industry, but my association for foundation repair has been nuts. And I'm trying to be that guy that just sits in the corner that just talks a big game and doesn't have to do anything. And this son of a bitch keeps pulling me in. It's like the Godfather, like it's totally Al Pacino. Like I try to get out, but he pulls me right back in. So without further ado, we've already had a good laugh before the show. I want to introduce to you guys not only the founder of a national franchise known as American Standard Foundation Repair, with I think going on 8 locations. Also, the president of the National Foundation Repair Association, Jae Wells, a very good friend of mine, that we are going to talk all about the cool stuff he is doing. So, Jay, cheers to you. Let's see the cocktail with contractors, sir.
Cocktails with contractors. Very well. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a koozie that fits on that thing.
Pinkies out, ladies and gentlemen. All 6 of our listeners, they are pumped to listen about your story, Jay. So let's just start out, because we're going to talk a lot about the NFRA, but also you've grown into this massive just juggernaut in the foundation repair space in your American Standard product. So let's talk about that, like, because you started with that before you got into the NFRA. So take us through that genesis.
Well, you know, it's a kind of a unique story. I was not in the industry at all. Happened quite by fluke that I was in medical school at the time, and I started a foundation repair company with a friend of mine. And he quickly lost interest, but I, in the middle of all of this, decided I absolutely loved it. It fit my personality. It fit what I love to do so much that I wound up quitting medical school and continuing with American Standard Foundation Repair. I know a lot of people don't understand that, but you just have to know me and my personality. This fits me to a T. I love my company. I love what we do. I love what we can accomplish for clients. I love being able to be the person who says, this is how we're going to run this company. These are the ethics. These are the standards that we're going to abide by. I love being that guy, you know, and I love our company. We've got some great folks that work here. Many of them have been with me since the beginning, and that just makes all the difference in the world.
Now, Jay, how long have you been involved in the industry? I mean, you are obviously passionate about what you do, and you're advocating for the industry through the association. I mean, how many years have you been involved, and how do you keep that passion moving forward?
Sure. Well, American Standard will be 20 years old next year. So we're really proud of that. And we're looking forward to that anniversary. That's a big one for us. And I joined the NFRA in my first year, about 12 months after we started the company, because I realized that if I was going to be good at this, I had to have an education. I really had to know what, in much more detail, what I should be doing, what the good practices were, what good inspection methods were. And unlike a lot of, if you want to learn electrical, go buy an electric book. Everything's in there. You can find it. There's always a way of doing it in your company, but there's information there where you can just go buy a book and learn. That does not exist in our industry. And still to this day, it does not exist in this industry. So I recognized that really early on as I spent a lot of time, searching for that information. And I happened upon the National Foundation Repair Association, which back then was the Foundation Repair Association. And very shortly before then, it was the Texas Foundation Repair Association. So it's gone through an evolution from a Texas organization to a national organization. But I joined it my second year in business because I really wanted to, network with other people. My granddaddy always told me, if you want to be successful, network with successful people, and that will rub off on you. And that's exactly what I did. I went to Texas, met everybody. They kind of treated me at first like, what the hell are you doing here? You're not from Texas. But I made a lot of good friends. And if it weren't for a couple of those people that are still on my board today, I don't know if I'd be in business, because they just gave me a lot of really good advice, how to do things well, how to do them ethically, and I really appreciated that. So I feeling very beholden to this organization, spent a lot of time helping to build it. I've been on the board of directors for 11 years, and I've now been president next month for 4 years. So I've helped it to grow. Like Will was saying, I find talented people and I have a way of drawing them in, kicking and screaming, and getting them to spend their time building this.
I'm sorry, he said
Primarily
drawing
because
them in? I thought it was tricking them in.
Or black. Well, see, there's the difference. He's talking about successful, talented people, not you.
Oh,
yeah.
let's rewind a little bit, because we're gonna peel back the layers there about my credibility first. And but like, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall, Jay. Like, bunch of Texas business owners, some guy from Memphis, Tennessee shows up. I'm sure they were like, what the hell are you doing here? But like, we can name a few names, like Jim Dutton I met, owns an awesome company called Due West. Like, the folks at Ocean, and mind you, like, I compete against you in the market. I compete against some of these other guys, but they are just salt of the earth people. So, like, what was that first experience like?
It was odd because they didn't have any other members from outside of the state of Texas. And I just showed up, and you bought a ticket to their conference and showed up like I belonged. And I didn't really care. They sold me the damn ticket. I showed up. So, I got my ticket. I'm coming in.
We need the revenue. Just
I think it was very kind of odd at first. They was like, what are you doing here? And then I explained to them. I was like, have you tried to find a book to learn something about this industry? It doesn't exist. You guys are it. Teach me. And I think they were just so caught off guard by the fact that someone really valued what they were putting together there, that they allowed me to stick around. And Jim Dutton is certainly one of them. I met him the first time I went to a conference. He, I think much unbeknownst to him, I was soaking up every word that he had to say. When you're new at something, the best way to succeed is to model success. Find someone who is successful and model what you do after them. Some people call that faking it until you make it, but it is the quickest road to success. So hanging on to Jim Dutton and just listening to every word he said. Chris Cates is from Ocean. He runs Ocean Houston. He's been doing this longer than I've been in the industry, so every one of these guys would teach classes and would just give you information that just made all the difference if you truly want to be a great contractor in the foundation repair industry. So I hung around, learned from them, and I'm trying to give that back and make that a much easier process for other companies around the country right now.
And I can't speak for all the industries out there, but at least for construction and looking at all of the ones that are related to it, anyone who's been successful in this business is more than happy to help that next generation or that company stepping up. Like, they might compete locally, but at the end of the day, they understand that competition is going to drive their product to be better, right? And it's going to be a better service for that community. So I completely agree and completely can understand you walking in and them being welcoming, even though you're from Tennessee, was it?
Yeah.
Well, and I want to dive into this a little bit more because you have been a wealth of information and back to this because Terry teaches MEP at University of Oklahoma.
Yep.
And for all of us idiots out there, that's mechanical, electrical, plumbing.
Very good.
You actually had to teach me that. So, but Jay is passionate about taking this. And this is what it was like. This guy's fucking crazy. Like, and then I got to know him, and he delivers.
He did that.
No, he's consistent. Like, he wants to take this industry and make it a trade.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay, you've got tons of numbers. Like, I did not realize how big the industry was and why this is needed and how far behind it is. So just break that down just as a nation where we're at as an industry and the effort you're pushing it into the trades.
All right. It's simple. We're now, if you add up all the factions of foundation repair industry, we're a $26 billion industry. No sub niche of construction has ever gotten to be 26 billion without being required to become a trade.
Mhm.
And that's so because I don't really think the federal government has put together that all of these niches are related. One might not think of seawall repair, for example, as foundation work, but it is in essence, in every way, foundation repair or seismic retrofitting, things like that. But we do have two facets of this industry that encompass more than 90% of it, and that is the foundation repair proper industry that does underpinning and, crawl space leveling, encapsulations, things like that. And then you've got the waterproofing and basement side of things that have historically been very separate. But now, waterproofing and basement people are starting to understand that so many times those problems are based on structural problems. So they're having to learn the things that we do. We also realize that virtually everything that we do structurally is related to water in one way or another. It causes it the vast majority of the time. So those two factions have a lot to learn from one another, especially as each side of that tries to adopt the good practices of the other side, right? So the NFRA is going through a lot of changes and a lot of revamping of the structure of it to accommodate for this. But the industry as a whole has become a very big hole. And Will, you mentioned that I am a proponent of this industry becoming a trade. But I'll tell you, I'm not in any hurry. As a matter of fact, I've promised some of our very board members that I won't be the one poking that bear. Okay.
Mhm.
Because if you look, there's a lot of us, every one of us study and we learn how to grow our company. And that, if you think of your company as, whether you're looking at nationally or your local market, if you have your little piece of that pie that is your market, say, we all think about how to make that piece of the pie bigger. How do I take a bigger piece of the pie here in my market? But very few people start to think beyond that about, well, if I could make the whole pie bigger, then my piece of it, whether I'm having a battle with my competitors in my market or not, my piece of the pie becomes bigger. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about not just my piece of the pie, but the pie as a whole and how to grow that piece of the pie so that every good contractor wins. Good competition is a company builder. Bad competition is where we run into trouble because we've got to try and now compete with people who have no insurance, none of the expenses of running a legitimate company that we do. The NFRA is really about giving all of the good contractors the things that they need to succeed and making it exceedingly more difficult for bad contractors who have no client centricity, no ability to think about ethics and standards, to help make that more and more difficult for them to stay in the market.
Yeah, no, I've always found it interesting that you'll see this in most every industry, that as soon as someone starts talking about like licensing or education or requirements to be in the industry, right? Everyone comes out, "Oh, don't govern us, don't govern us." But when you start thinking about it, if you're running your business and you're doing it above board, right? You're doing all the right things anyways. Like all you're doing is eliminating those fly by night companies that are going to come in, piss off the customer, and give your industry a bad name.
Yes, agreed wholeheartedly.
Well, and to be clear, like Terry's starting to train a lot of those people that are out there. So if they start delivering bad names, like we now have somebody to point to. So thanks, Terry. I just kidding. but no, you're right, and I think that's one of the things that you've at least said, hey, we have to have a standard to start with, right? Our industry's never had that. And was it you
Right.
or some of the past board members that kind of created the certification program that, by the way, is awesome?
Thank you. So the National Certified Foundation Repair Specialist exam has been around for almost 30 years. It was created by a bunch of engineers in Texas. It was very Texas centric. You know, in Texas, they deal with expansive clays a lot. And we have revamped the exam over the years to be more encompassing. But this year, at our board retreat a couple of weeks ago, we passed a new educational system. The problem runs into when you're educating an industry that any set of books that we turn out, the way technology expands today, it's out of date by the time the book hits the shelf. So we first thought, well, we need to find a different set of books. And I already knew that wasn't going to work because there are no books out there. And then I thought, well, we've got to then develop our own study guide and base an exam on that. And man, what an encompassing project that is. So Rob Stam, executive director of Nash Distribution, came up with a brilliant idea. He said, what if we take all of the stellar manufacturers and service providers and 40-year veterans in our industry and just the true epitome of knowledge in our industry, and what if we asked them all to teach classes and we develop curriculum around that so that each time you go to a class, you take that 50-minute class, you go take a question exam, you pass that, and you get a credit towards your certification. Well, think about what that did. It means that as new technology comes to the market, we're able to teach that in a class immediately. We're able to keep this current and relevant to business owners and helping them build their strong companies. So Rob came up with a brilliant idea. Obviously, we're struggling to make this happen by June, but it's going to be there. We've got enough wonderful instructors, qualified instructors to make this happen. It will just need to, like anything that evolves, grow over time and become more and more solid. But we're going to have that there at the conference this year. You can start gaining your certification requirement course hours immediately at this year's conference.
Well, and we're going to get to the conference here in a second, because I think we're going to put something down on the show links that say, like, if you click this link, you get 110% off of your registration.
They're paying you to attend.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you, Jay.
I would. I don't know you that well, Jay.
But, side quest here, like Terry, you're dealing with this all the time. Like, you guys plan your curriculum like a year in advance in many cases.
Yeah.
How the hell are you guys keeping up? And you guys are in higher learning and academia. Like,
Well, and so what I'm going to say, and my expectation is Jay will hopefully agree. Otherwise, he'll say I'm wrong. what you end up doing when you look at any of the curriculum is you teach a lot of the fundamentals about why things are happening the way they are, how we got here. You give them a little bit of the history, you give them the theory on why things are happening. And for the most part, the theory stays the same, right? They're not changing these radical.
Yeah, concrete is
concepts.
still made of an aggregate, Portland,
And still
water.
gets hard and
Yep.
still cracks, right?
Yep.
And then what you do is after you have that fundamental understanding, you go back in with the new technology and how we are addressing the issues that we always tend to see. And it doesn't matter what segment of the industry you're talking about. Technology, and it's a good thing, is always going to be pushing us forward to say, hey, this is a new technology. This is how it's becoming better and better and better. The issue you have, and what I love about your model is the issue you have in higher ed is that as soon as a faculty member or a teacher steps out of the industry, their knowledge stops for the most part, right?
Yeah.
They can work. It's exceptionally hard to be on the front side of it. And if they're doing research in the areas to try and expand the forefront of knowledge, then it's all positive. When you're talking with installers, when you're talking with manufacturers, you have the most current information that is hitting the market. And so the idea that these are the people teaching your class, love it.
Well, and Jay, how have
Yeah.
you been balancing that? Because I feel like from a third party looking in, you've done a very good job of not over allowing vendors to have influence over the standards. Like, but we kind of have to have vendors to help innovate and push standards. So,
Yeah.
what's
You're hitting
what's been some examples, and what was that?
you're hitting the nail on the head. This is a circular problem that you have to break. When you have an industry that's the last to get technology, the last to integrate new technology into it, the problem is when someone does come up with a great idea, it's really hard to get penetration because there's no standard way of educating people about it. There's no central command that says, hey, we approve this. This is a great idea. So then manufacturers and innovators stop. They just say, okay, well, this is a really difficult industry to penetrate. So we're just going to skip on and go to the next one. And you have to cut that cycle or else you will continue to be the last one to get technology. There's so many technologies out there right now that just need little tweaks to actually apply them in our industry that would make us so much more data driven. Instead of, oh, well, I ran my toes across your floor. It's not level. You need some piers. Well, what if we could actually, you should be dealing with data. Here's what you've got. This is how much it's down. I can prove it. It's reproducible. Here it is. This is what we do in that case. This is a standard procedure. And here's the engineers that back up my repair plan. So once we get all of that in place, the penetration becomes easy and people will start to utilize new technology in this industry. That penetration becomes much easier. We'll have people actually out there thinking, wow, this is a great industry. They're so needy. Let me go ahead and produce those products, right? But we're not there yet.
Well, Jay, I want to single something out here because I want to segue into the conference. Before I do, Terry, this is why you're going to want to meet up with Jay when he's here in Oklahoma City in June.
Yep.
And Jay, specifically, this is why you're going to want to meet Terry. He's been around my business long enough that you said penetrate 4 times and he didn't giggle.
I thought about it, but I'm like, this is the respectable podcast.
I mean, hold on. Like the foundation repair world is full of the funniest innuendos. You can say
construction in
penetrate,
general.
you can say shaft, you can say rod, you can say caulk, sausage. That's a caulking and sausage tube thing. Like you have, and it's all actual general terms in our field. So Jay, he is acclimated to our industry. And now because he didn't giggle once. When I first met Terry, he was a little giggly schoolgirl when we talked about this stuff. Cheers to you, sir. You're sophisticated. Pinky out. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
pinky
ahead,
out.
Jay. Go ahead, throw that martini up there.
It just brings
Okay. So June. Let's talk about June because I am super pumped about this.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome conference.
Well, so hold on. So for the people that don't know you and our 6 listeners that tune in every week, what's happening in June? What is it? You mentioned it a few times, but let's define what it is because it's getting bigger every single year.
Yeah, Jay, you need to explain it to me. Like, I don't listen to Will, which I don't listen to Will, but like, he is a poor communicator. So give me the exact rundown.
I'll
of
give
what's
you.
going on.
I'll give you credit there. It's all in my head, and I think I communicated. But yeah. Let's hear it from the mastermind himself.
So each year, the National Foundation Repair has an annual conference. This is our 34th annual NFRA conference. It's in Oklahoma City this year at downtown at the Omni Hotel, June 22nd through the 26th. It's a full week. The classes are Thursday and Friday, the 25th and the 26th. But early in the week, there's lots of things that are going on that I'd really love for people to participate in. Number one, starting with, you want to do if we're going chronologically, you want to start with your event, Will?
Oh yeah, we can. Like
a reception that we do on Tuesday night. Well, this year, Will is blowing it out of the water with Bedrock Academy, and we're having this huge reception that I want Will to tell you about. It's an amazing
by the way, I haven't
event.
talked to you about barbecuing for that. I'm probably going to need you to swing in and help me out. But yeah, we're having a big party with all the contractors available. And this is where I appreciate vendor relationships is we're going to have a ton of beer, ton of food, good times. That's where everybody gets to know each other.
Yep.
The excitement comes in. We're going to be giving away a $9,000 helical drive head. I know that doesn't mean a lot to you, Terry. That's sexy to a lot of us foundation repair guys. Pallets of dehumidifiers, pallets products, a generator, big one, $64,000 concrete lifting rig, poly rig. We're giving it away. That's all the vendors showing up. And then that's the kickoff for the whole event. It gets everybody fired up. And then that way they're like, all right, man, I'm here. And if I can leave with a $64,000 concrete lifting rig, hell yeah, let's go.
So if I win that rig, are there going to be classes to teach me how to start a business like later in the week?
Dude, you know me. I can teach you.
Yeah. Will there be quality people to teach me how to start a business?
All right, back to the
We
regular
will
scheduled program.
Classes on polyrig, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. By the way, back to certification and making sure there's reputable contractors. Thanks, Terry. But yeah, so we're gonna do the Bedrock event. Super excited because that's all foundation repair owners. We all know each other around the country. It's a great way to break bread too. So
yeah, Wednesday morning, we have a really great day. We have certification classes all day. These are not classes you would take towards a certificate. These are vendor run classes. Say you're April Air and you want to actually certify people to be able to install those and then certified on their warranty certificate that a certified installer, put this in for you. Those classes are really valuable to every contractor, and getting those certifications can really help with your bottom line. So we offer those all day. Some of them are 2-hour courses. Some of them are 4-hour courses. And I believe one of them is an all-day course. So just check out the website, foundationrepair.org, to see the certification classes that we have available on Wednesday. Then we have an all-day golf tournament. Starts at 8 in the morning.
Oh, I forgot about the golf tournament.
Beautiful
Man,
golf.
I left Jim Parker out because Jim's been on our podcast. What are you making that look for? You don't. No, I don't golf, but Jay and I are going to drive the beer cart.
Yeah, that's my job.
I'm a horrible golfer. But Jim was on our podcast a long time ago, the plumber out of Dallas, San Antonio. Jim was on our podcast. He runs that whole thing, the golf tournament, which is benefiting our nonprofit, by the way. God, Terry, get your whole shit together. I forgot about that, Jake. Yeah, so go ahead, the golf tournament, I totally forgot. All right, tradies, I know lead generation has been top of mind for all of us this last year and going into 2026. So let me put you onto a marketing team I actually trust, Greenbaum Steyer's Strategic Marketing Group. And oh yeah, they're friends and network affiliate of ours, but I'm telling you straight, these guys are different. Most marketing agents, they've never worn boots. They never dealt with seasonality, weird leads, price shoppers, no shows. Mrs. Johnson calling you back 3 times because her basement feels wet. Green Bomb Stires was literally born out of a successful foundation repair and waterproofing company like mine, so they actually understand how our businesses work. They've been doing this since 2017. They're a full service branding website. They convert with SEO, compounding over time, traditional media buying, and of course, lead generation that makes the phone ring. But the big thing is strategy. They're focused on helping you overcome what's holding you back, tighten up your systems, and hit real goals, profitable goals, and not just some vanity metrics and pretty reports that you can brag about at some conference. So if you're tired of guessing, tired of wasting money, and you want a team that knows contractors and knows how to drive results, go check out Greenbaum Stires Strategic Marketing Group. Tell them Will and Terry sent you. Their website's greenbombstires.com. That's GREENBAUMSTIERS.com. I'll put it in the link. Keep grinding out there, tradies.
Yeah. So the golf tournament on Wednesday is at a beautiful golf course there in Oklahoma City, and it's to benefit Will's nonprofit, which helps to take at-risk youth and teach them a trade and then follow them on to trade school and help them get their first job. So I think there's nothing more admirable about any kind of nonprofit than to take kids and give them a skill and teach them how to make a living for themselves for the rest of their life. That's amazing. So we're very happy to support that this year. All proceeds will go to that charity. And it is, why do I always can't remember the name of it? To help me, Will.
It's Construct My Future, but that's okay because you said it was my nonprofit.
Yeah.
By the way, Terry's one of our founding members of that nonprofit, and he's always been. Are you still the VP?
Apparently. You know, Jay, you might not understand this, but when we started this organization, what we did is we looked at all these children or kids, young adults who didn't have a career path. And what we said was we don't want them to turn out like Will. And what can we do?
And what do you know? It worked.
You know, it's
Well, this is what could happen to you.
like when you're looking at coming up with a poster on what not to do.
You want to be that weirdo with the tattoos?
Don't be that. Yeah.
He's got bags under his eyes, look like he hadn't slept for 3 days. He's over there penetrating steel on the ground. We don't want to be like that.
No, obviously me and Will only communicate daily, but Jay, the fact that your organization, you guys are willing to step up and really help a community like you are, that is truly amazing. And I can't believe you didn't lead with that, you idiot.
No. Sorry, my bad. I didn't prep show notes for today, so Terry's upset.
That's exactly the kind of organization we want to support each year. Last year, we did a veterans organization that really helps veterans that fall through the cracks. You know, there's so much tape and all of that a lot of people just fall through the cracks. And that organization was right there to help pick up the people who were falling through the cracks. And I just really felt great about that. This year, as a former high school teacher, I really feel like this is close to my heart, taking kids, teaching them that every person is not intended to be a Rhodes Scholar and do a 4-year degree and get out and search for a job for 2 years, trying to pay student loans back and wind up hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to make $60,000 a year. Okay.
Right.
A journeyman plumber can make more than that. So I'm very much about helping kids to make good choices. That's not the right career path for every student. And I'm not knocking that. That was my path. And I was successful at it. And I enjoyed it. And I stayed in college way too long. They had to kick me out. And I just say, that's not for everybody, right? I'll be paying those student loans back till I'm 76, I think is when I make my last payment. So you have to make that choice. But Will, Terry, your organization is making an alternative choice pattern for a bunch of kids that really need that, and teaching them a trade where they can make not just a living wage, teach them a skill where they can actually make a really good living for themselves. I love that. So we're really happy to be supporting that this year.
Well, listen, Terry loves to hear about how great we both are. Obviously. Terry, do you want to hear more? I'm just kidding. But one thing I got to give you credit on, Jay. I go to a lot of conferences, get to speak at some. I'm an attendee at others. You do a very hard push and a well-facilitated push on the certification and education side. Then you also do a lot of innovative breakout sessions, whether or not it's about sales, lead generation, production management, financial management. And then, of course, you have a shindig, which I'm looking forward to. And by the way, a lot of conferences don't do that very well. They have like a bunch of big talking heads and egos, or what I like to call entrepreneurs, talk a big keynote and then poof, and then go buy a bunch of stuff. You don't do that. And I got to give you kudos on that. But you're about to level it up again, because I've watched this grow nearly 200% over the last 3 years. So where are you taking the NFRA in the next year? And we've talked about this, but I want to hear your words. Where is it elevating?
Sure. Well, for the first time, we have a membership director who is helping us to, to find new quality contractors to become members. When I say quality contractors, I mean people who intend to do good business. I don't care whether you just started last year. Those are the very people we can help the most. But there's so many services, products, things that are new brought to the market in this conference that even old contractors who've been doing this for a long time find something to learn. So that's one thing. We're really on a push to expand our reach and to bring in new contractors. We realize we're doing very poorly at bringing in new contractors west of the Rocky Mountains, and we're devising a plan for making that push. But membership is one aspect, certainly. I mentioned that more than 90% of the contractors right now in our industry are serviced by NFRA or BHA, the waterproofing and basement industry. I've minced no words about the fact that I believe these two organizations should be one. I've mentioned that to the board of directors for the BHA. I'm a proponent of having a date and figuring out what we're all about and making sure that that's a good plan for all involved. But the truth of the matter is we've got things coming up in our industry that we're going to have to tackle. And that voice that we respond with does not need to be divided. It does not need to hear, they don't need to hear one thing over here and one thing over here. We need to come together as an industry, as one voice, and say, this is how we want to run our industry. I told you earlier, I spend a lot of time learning how to grow an industry, not just my company. That's a totally different, from micro to mega ideas. So when you're talking about growing an industry, you really have to look back on how it's been done in the past. So when you look at electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, for example, and how they became a trade, it was painful. All three of those industries had dictations of this is how it's going to be, and this is what you're going to do. And when you look at the trajectory of all three of those industries and the trajectory they were on, when the government stepped in and started to regulate them, they had a very long period where it took them to begin growing again. I don't want that for our industry. If you look at an industry who did it successfully, that would be the roofing industry. By the time they became a trade, they had already established they're going to come after us. They're going to come after us for this. They're going to dictate. We need to establish what we're going to do. And that's exactly what they did. So when the government came calling and said, you're going to become a trade, they said, okay, here's what we've got. And they laid their cards on the table and everything went smoothly. They did not see the decrease in industry growth that those other facets of the construction trade saw. I want to be that guy. And that's difficult because you've got to get an entire industry behind you. So my push to accomplish that is to get all the factions together to become one voice, to grow our membership to be truly nationwide. So we have representatives from all 50 states and good saturation throughout the country. And by doing that, we wind up with one voice that can help propel this forward in a very positive direction.
Tradies, running your small business can be demanding. You got suppliers you got to work with. You're managing crews. Hell, you're chasing sales. It's a lot to take in. Listen, if you want to grow your business, you got to stop working in it and you got to start working on it. So that's where my friends at Foundation Rescue Supply come in. You're not just getting foundation repair products and waterproofing products and air quality control products. With their nationwide distribution, you're getting a partner who knows how to help you scale. And that's why I use them. The Foundation Rescue Supply team has industry knowledge that'll help make your life easier. You get the tools, the trainings, the systems that you need to move the needle. You want your sales team to close more leads? Done, because they have the proven process for that. You need your crews to work smarter, not harder? Done. Their installation training will get you out there and rocking and rolling in the field. With Foundation Rescue Supply, you're not just buying materials here, you're buying a better business system that they have helped create. And you sell more, you install more, and you grow your team. So the bottom line is this: you get best industry pricing, you get field productivity on track, and you get more revenue out of everybody on your team. So this is your chance to step up, scale up, and thrive. If you are ready to make that happen, head to foundationrescuesupply.com, check out their catalog, and speak to my friends, their team, how you can take beyond the products with your company with Foundation Rescue Supply.
Yeah, and it kind of is amazing to me, if any organization out there is thinking that they're going to be better off to just, skate by until the government or whichever authority steps in and says, hey, you're going to start doing things appropriately. You're fooling yourself, because you have to start regulating yourself so that you have a plan in place and you can start bringing that bar up. And so when they do come in and say, hey, what are you going to do? You say, well, we've been doing it, let this be the bar and let's continue. The other part of that is, I don't understand in my mind. So you're talking about organizations that are associated with like waterproofing, working on the basement association, while you guys are dealing with the foundation, right?
Yes.
If you look at plumbers, right, you have some plumbers that do new construction, some that do residential, some that only do commercial, some that do fire protection. You can have different organizations or different companies that focus in on that segment of the market. You don't all have to be at the same level or doing the same thing as everyone in the association, because you're all associated with foundation, waterproofing. Yeah, I mean, it seems relatively clear to me from an outsider, but yeah, sorry that you have to deal with those issues.
Yeah, but I think it's all part of the benefit too, though. As well, you mentioned it before, Jay, like if you're doing seawall repair in the panhandle of Florida, the practice of that, I know I need a house in Florida, Terry. He keeps rubbing it in. But versus, a seawall repair or a retaining wall repair, I should say, and call it, the western part of Colorado. Some of the practices are the same.
Mhm.
Two different business focuses or target markets, same practice.
Yes.
And that's where the crossover is. And Jay, I want to segue a little bit here, because I used to be one of those that I fit in that box. It's like, okay, great. Well, I'm worried about growing my business, and you've done a very good job of creating an environment where competitors can get along and network with one another. But one of the big ones that really took me kind of aside a little bit was Jacob and the insurance concept. It's shocking. And so take us through that and how you stumbled onto it. What were the results? And we're speaking on behalf of Jacob here, but it's like wild.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
Jacob is such a cool person. And as a third generation insurance person, I think that young man knew more about insurance when he was 5 than most of us will ever know. I mean, he's just an amazing young man, first of all. Honest as the day is long, truly interested in helping you as a client. I mean, I can't say enough great things about Jacob Keeling from Frost Insurance. After meeting him, I asked Jacob if he would be our compliance officer, because we were interested in just making sure that all of our contractors were working within their state guidelines and stuff like that. And he immediately agreed. Besides saving me like $45,000 a year the first year he took over my insurance. There's my plug for Jacob, because he did an amazing job.
Yeah, we're going to have a few more plugs here. Like it's shocking.
Yeah, amazing for what he did for my personal company. What I wanted Jacob to do was look at the problems in our industry. When I became president, I wrote a list of the 10 biggest problems that I saw in our industry. And I've attacked every one of them. It took me a while, but we've got a plan to attack every one of them. And a huge part of the problem is we in this industry accept our insurance rates as a given, and they're not. We accept the fact that we have no workman's comp codes that are truly applicable to anything that we do at all. And we're just being shoved over here on this workman's comp code because it's the closest match, right? And any given broker could just decide for you what that best given match is because we don't have any. So there's so many facets of this that we just kind of accept as part of doing business in our industry that I don't accept as a part of our industry. We are shoved over into, instead of being able to get an insurance like any general contractor or someone, a plumber, electrician in the construction industry, we get shoved over into something called excess lines, which means not normal insurance. This is what they used to call high risk insurance. And then they treat us like a general contractor because they have no true data on our industry. So we pay more, and we don't have to pay more because when you really get down to the claims aspect of this, we have a very, very safe industry. And we should be paying among the cheapest in the construction industry, but we pay the most. They treat us like a general contractor, like we are charged like a general contractor. And here's the difference. A general contractor says, here's my job. These are the 5 things on my schedule. And he takes bids for each aspect of that job. He doesn't know most of the time any of these people or who he's selecting. They said they could do it. They sent him a contract. They chose somebody to do each 5 of them, and they're out there doing work. You have very, very little control over that person as the prime contractor. So the difference for a foundation repair company is typically almost everyone that works for us is an employee. We taught them how to do what they do. We gave them the OSHA standards. We make sure they're complying. We do all of the right things with this set of employees. Often, like in my case, I have 2 production managers that have been with me for 15 years. They are so amazing at not allowing things to happen. I am just so thankful and grateful for those guys. But we only start to change that when we start to collect data. We have no data because we're not a trade. No one collects data on this industry, and we've got to start that. So we started the Foundation Repair Research Institute. And one of the very first things in that institute's list of things to do is we need to start collecting data, and we need to look at how we're going to do that, so that we can prove to insurance companies we are safe. And here's the data. And this is what we want you to consider and get us back off of those excess lines. Jacob also has ideas for doing a cooperative with health insurance for the entire industry. Certainly, he's working on a workman's comp code for us. So I've learned a lot. Jacob is an amazing person. He can solve these problems. He's got ideas, and Will has been an amazing help with that. You've worked with captives before.
You can have a whole episode on captives. So
Yeah, captives.
sorry, Carrie's getting impatient over here. He's got a question.
I mean-
He's like, he's getting antsy.
It's kind of something broke in my head, right? So you're saying what you're saying is, as an industry, you all do not have data representing what your accident associated risk is as an industry, right? But you have individuals who are part of your association who are in this industry that have insurance records associated going back, and that can show, hey, I had 1 claim last year. I had no claims the year before, right? All of that is there, right?
Well, I'll give you a good correlation. Sorry, Jay, you're the guest. I'm
sorry, Jay.
This is why I
just
love this. And I'm going to, because of our timing, I'm going to summarize some of the other cool shit that Jay's doing. But we do concrete lifting.
Right.
Well, the equipment in the trailer is similar to a spray paint applicator, a Graco applicator, where you just spray paint on a building.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we were classified as a painter in our workers' comp class codes. It was like, time out. We're not painters. We're not on a two-story building. Yeah, we're literally on the concrete.
Yes.
So we're getting summarized into that group. And what Jacob found out through Jay, your efforts, that out of the premiums that they're charging us, they're only paying out about 10% of the premiums to claims versus another industry like roofing or something else that's 50 to 60%. So what they're doing through Jay and Jacob's efforts is they've identified, hey, they're just loving the profits from our industry because of misclassification. Of course, they're not going to tell us this. They don't want to. They're actually making up their losses on the foundation repair concrete industry because of vague classifications. And Jay, this is awesome that you like staked a flag into this.
Yeah.
Does that help answer your question a little bit, Terry?
It does, and
Because I
and
could
we'll
have a good record.
No, we'll have some conversations here after this.
Okay, cool. Well,
Sorry, Jay.
but also, Jay, I got to give you credit. Had him sitting on the bench now for a little bit because I had to go on a montage. But insurance, nationalized warranty protocols, standardization in practices, and then also business development. Like the list is going on and on and on. And power to you, buddy. Like I look at that mountain and I'm like, all right, I'll sit here at base camp, sipping on my beer, watching you climb the hill, but you're doing it. And I met you 3 years ago, and damn if you haven't been doing it. So I'm just proud about what you're doing and all of that. So
Thank you, Will. I appreciate that very much. But I just want to say I have one skill. I mean, look, you can be good at math and physics, and that can make you good at this industry, but it doesn't help you grow an industry. I have one skill that's particularly of interest in this regard, and that is I have an uncanny ability to go after some of the very best people in our industry and somehow or another convince them that this is a worthy endeavor and that they should spend a little bit of their time help making it happen. And if I have a skill, that is it, because that's the success of this. I'm one person. I cannot do all of this. But what I have been successful at is getting people just like you, Will, to somehow or another agree to spend a little bit of their time helping us drive an industry in a positive direction. And the more and more and more people we get to do that, the faster this change will occur. So that's where the success of this recipe is just in continuing to find really good people who want to help.
well, Jay has cracked the code just like Terry. Terry, if you want to convince Will Blake to do anything, what do you do?
Beer. You need beer.
And Jay has done it.
And I really want everyone who thinks that was edited, that was like less than a tenth of a second. Like
Chris didn't take any crops on that cut. But seriously, like I'm an easy nut to crack. All right.
you're already shelled, buddy. You don't even have to crack
I'm
that.
such a pushover. I love it. But yep, it's like, hey, by the way, I want you to help me out with the board.
Yep.
And I'm like, sure, I'll help you out. And then I get a call saying from somebody else, like, hey, congratulations on your vote on the board. And I'm like, what the
Just kind of pulls up a little Will puppet, like
Jay is not being braggadocious of that at all. We sat down in Kentucky at a board retreat, and I'm just surrounded by a room of people. I'm like, yeah, this is a room full of smart people. So, but Jay, listen, we could talk for another hour on this, and I hope to have you back. We'll do it like a post. Maybe we do an episode at the conference.
Yeah, I love that.
Good, I point right here because it's literally like going to be
before or after beverages.
Here's with contractors, dude. It's going to be
Mid.
We're going to have a pregame just like we do every episode. We're going to have a during.
A beers with contractors, like little pavilion there where you can have new people in talking all the time, because this is like a who's who of the
that sounds exhausting, Jay. I'm not going to do that. First off, like Terry and I are not known for our fluidity when it comes to live recordings, so we're tons of technical difficulties, but it will be a great time. It'll be awesome to have you here. Terry, it will also be good to have you here.
No, I in all honesty,
because you're cooking during one of the events.
Well, I'm cooking. I'm perfectly fine doing that. So as a college instructor with the School of Construction at the University of Oklahoma, I need to continue my education outside. And, other than sitting with Will, I mean, everything you're talking about, the education, the certifications, I mean, being able to be in an atmosphere where that's available, I would love to attend just to get that knowledge.
Well, this may go down in infamy, but then again, if they made it this far in the episode, good for them. They can call me out and make a comment. I dare say it. I bet you there's going to be 700 people there this year, Jay. I guarantee it.
I hope so. I want everyone to come. It's a valuable few days that, if you're not moving forward with your company, you're moving behind. You're moving farther and farther behind. That's just a simple business premise. It's always true. I've experienced it myself. Sometimes I'm just thinking, well, that's not important. And then I wait, and then all of a sudden it is important and I'm behind. This is a conference where you come and you get the knowledge to stay on top and keep your ship headed in the right direction at all times. I always say there's 3 things we're going to accomplish, and all 3 of them are equally important. We're going to give you an education. We're going to get the people from this industry that are the most knowledgeable to teach you good practices. That's really important. I'm going to give you an opportunity to be a mentor to someone and to find a mentor. This is the most important thing you can do to help drive your business. You've got to have someone to talk to. How do I do this? How do I get this done, Will Blake? How many times have I asked you that truthfully, Will Blake? I mean, Will has taught me so much good stuff.
Yep.
And, so you have that opportunity. There's someone who could use the stuff that you've got. And there's someone there that has stuff you need. And this is a great opportunity just to come together and find those people. You don't have those resources in this industry. This is the place you get it. And then finally, I can throw a party on the drop of a dime. Okay. And I'm good at it. I've not been good at it my entire life. So we always make time for fun. You need to hang out with people who speak your language. You need to hang out with people who understand what you do and your struggles. And that is such a cathartic environment just to be around your people. So every year we have a party and we throw down, we have a great time, and no one has ever complained about the parties that we throw. So we all have a good time as well. I think all those are
Sold
me. Essentially,
You just sold me.
3. You got the golf tournament, you got the bedrock event, you got the hoedown. Is that what we're calling it this year, Jay? The hoedown?
Oh, the hoedown throwdown.
Yeah. So.
And then Wednesday night is the karaoke pool party, and the Omni pool is amazing. We've got the title sponsor and the platinum sponsor and the cabanas. We got a whole food thing in front of them, and everybody's there. We're singing karaoke in the pool. It's going to be awesome. So there's
You're going to be there in your Speedo, Terry? I'll show up in my Speedo if you show up in your Speedo. I'm just, nobody wants to see it. We don't need to scare them people off. Hey, well, Jay, listen, I've been trying to get you on here for months, I feel like.
I know.
And love you to death. What you're doing for the industry, you're just a titan of making change. And that's what I appreciate you. And you're a good human being. So thanks for being on with us today. Terry, we do a lot of shade back and forth, but you know what? Cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
And to all you guys out there, all 6 of you listening, listen, we'll see you on another episode of Beers with Contractors next week. Please go down into the links and look into this information. If you're in our industry, it's going to be awesome. And I will look forward to seeing you personally in June. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Beers with Contractors. We hope you enjoyed our chat as much as we did. Before we say our final goodbyes, a friendly reminder. Beers with Contractors encourages responsible drinking. If you choose to enjoy a beverage during our time together, please do so in moderation and only if you're of legal drinking age in your country or state. Furthermore, the advice and insights shared in this podcast are for informational purposes only. Always consult with professionals and experts in your field, and be sure to follow local laws and regulations regarding licensing and permits. We're here to help, entertain, and inspire, but your safety and compliance are important. So, as you head out into the world of construction and contracting, remember to build responsibly and make decisions that stand the test of time. Thanks for joining us today. We'll catch you on the next episode of Beers with Contractors. Until then, cheers to your success.